Creating your course, membership, or other digital product and then trying to sell it is sabotaging your online business. You may hear that and say, wait, what? I thought I was supposed to create a product and then try to sell it. Isn't that what marketing's about? Well, I'm here to tell you that following that path, which is kind of a common path in the online world where people say, I've got this idea for a product, I'm going to go create it, and then I'm going to sell it to people. Going down that path is a path to end up like so many other entrepreneurs I've seen posting in Facebook groups and other communities talking about how they've got this great product, but nobody's buying. That's the reality. Now it's time to talk about why that is and what you should do instead. Hey there, welcome to this episode of Bobby Ruins Marketing. These episodes or these videos are my attempt to kind of talk about mistakes and problematic things happening in the online marketing space. Sometimes I rant, sometimes I rave, but there's always a kernel of wisdom in what we're talking about and some sense of what you should be doing instead. Now, if you don't know me, I'm Bobby Klink. I'm a Harvard Law grad turned online entrepreneur who built a very successful business, first selling legal templates, then being a marketing and business coach. And along the way, one of the most important things that I've learned is I never create a product because I think it's a good idea. I made that mistake early on and it cost me 30 to 50 grand. Yeah, seriously. My first year in business, I thought I knew what people wanted. I created it. Nobody bought. I spent all this money, all this time, all this effort creating a product and nobody wanted it. So that was my first lesson. And over the 4 or 5 years since, I've learned it over and over and over again, that the most important thing we should be doing is not to be so smart and not to think we know what we should be doing. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. First, I'm going to talk about the problem with this I'm going to create it and then sell it approach. And then we're going to talk about what you should do instead. So first, I'm going to talk about two big reasons why taking the I'm going to create it and then sell it approach is a mistake. Now, first, though, before I do that, I want to talk about something that I heard on a podcast recently that someone was talking about. It was this really weird, crazy idea. Someone was talking about this, and I don't even remember who it was. Their guest talked about how they always start by going and focusing on the people they serve. Not some idea they have for a product, not anything else. And the podcast host, who is in the online space, was floored. She's like, wait, aren't we supposed to be starting with our expertise, with what we know, with what we can help people with? And the guest said no. And it was this moment that I loved because this guest was actually teaching fundamental marketing principles and the host didn't know it. And I want to talk about that principles here. See, so there used to be a principle of marketing, and I'm not going to get too geeky, but I study marketing, like marketing theory, how professional marketers do things. And at one point, there was a belief that what our job was as marketers was to create demand for a product because there wouldn't be enough demand otherwise. This was what was called the selling concept of marketing. And when you say, I'm going to create a product and then sell it and then create the demand, you're kind of adopting that sense. You're saying, look, I'm going to create this product. I don't necessarily know if there's a market for it, but once the product is created, I'm going to go try to find the market and or create demand. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. Professional marketers gave that up back in 1960. Yeah, seriously, that long ago, back in 1960, professional marketers said, this whole notion of creating demand is a fool's errand. Trying to get people to buy a product they don't want inherently is never the way to go. So they shifted to, again, a very unoriginal name of what was called the marketing concept of marketing. I kind of joke that the people who are like the thought leaders, like the kind of the people who study marketing and name these marketing trends really need help from marketers because that's a horrible name. But the marketing concept of marketing is this. We should sense what the market wants by listening, by doing in-depth work of studying our market, and then we should create a product to meet that existing demand. And now what that means is we have to be humble. We have to be willing to say, I don't know squat. I have no basis to say what the market wants until I do the work, until I'm willing to cultivate a following, until I'm willing to get people and actually listen to them. And I want to give a caveat here, or not a caveat. I want to talk about something, because maybe what you said is, well, yeah, of course I'm going to do market research. I'm going to go and tell people, here's my idea. What do you think? That's not validating a product. That really is what a lot of people taught for a long time. The way you would validate a product is you would get on and do calls with people and you would talk through what it was. But here's the problem. If you go into those calls with a preconceived idea of what you're going to create, and then you tell people, guess what? People aren't going to want to hurt your feelings. Unless they're like a really good friend, and even a lot of really good friends wouldn't do this. I have some friends who'd be willing to say, Bobby, that's the dumbest idea I ever heard. Don't do it. But most people won't do that. If you tell them, this is my idea, what do you think? They're going to say, oh, I think that's a good idea. Well, I think it's a good idea. That's what you're going to get. Whether it's a good idea or not, whether the market demand is there, you're going to hear that. See, what you have to do is come at market research without any preconceived notions about what you should be doing. And then you have to listen to what the market is telling you. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that because they've got this preconceived notion and they go out and create it and then they want to sell it. You see, this is kind of bass-ackwards. You need to go out and find out what the market wants and then create it. See, it's the backwards way of what most people are trying to do. So that's kind of the first reason. Now it's this notion of what marketing theory is. Beyond that, though, I want to talk about kind of a very practical problem that's going to happen if you create your product and then try to sell it. You will be in this position where you've put in all of this time, all of this effort, and probably a lot of money into creating your product. And guess what happens when you do that? If you do that and you're struggling to find people to buy it, you're going to be stubborn and you're not going to be willing to listen to what the market is telling you. If you put this out there and nobody is reacting, nobody wants to buy it, it's a sign that it's not the right product. But if you've invested all your time, your sweat, your tears, money, all of those things into creating it, you're going to be a stubborn SOB and say, no, I just got to find another way to try to sell this. I just need to maybe change this, or I need to change that. I need to maybe use this kind of selling mechanism. Oh, I need to launch it this way. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, maybe I just need to spend more money on ads. You're going to be doing that rather than listening to the signals coming back from the market telling you, we don't want this. This is not the right product. Now, that's the problem with this method. So let's talk about what you should be doing instead. Well, first of all, you have no business creating any kind of scaled information product or anything other than kind of direct working with people, in my view, until you've built an audience. And here's the reason why. What you need to be doing is listening to what your audience is telling you. And I mentioned this when I was talking about my history, my building my business. Now, I did the legal stuff. It was a skill. It was an expertise. People were asking me about the business stuff, about how I marketed for a while, and I resisted selling anything about it. Because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to teach. It was only after people kept asking me the same thing over and over, asking me to teach them how to do X, that I said, okay, the market wants me to teach them that. And I've repeated it over and over again. First, I created what was called my Fans First Society. It was based on this notion that people kept asking me, how is it that you're able to connect with people and create these deep relationships with people you've never met online who are your raving fans? People asked me that multiple times, including thought leaders were saying, it's amazing how you can do that. I said, the market wants to know this. And I had people do it. And by the way, I pre-sold that membership before I created the first bit of it. I told people a vision and they bought it. That was the first time. Then after that, I did something else. I listened to people. They were telling me, hey, I want to learn how you do this email stuff because I'm kind of known as an email guy. I had built a cult following around my emails, and people kept asking me over and over and over again to teach them how to do the email stuff, how to write email the right way. The market is telling me what they want. And so I responded and created a program to help people learn the email stuff, which, by the way, is now free inside of my BADA Online Marketing University. But I created that in response to demand. Now, then there was one other thing. People kept saying, hey, if you ever launch a coaching program or a mastermind, I want it. I had multiple people tell me that before I ever launched one. So then I said, okay, people want this. And so I launched it. See, you can see this repeated pattern, and this is what you need to do instead. You need to cultivate an audience. You need to kind of understand them, take the time, be willing to be patient, and listen to what it is that they're telling you they want you to create. In other words, you have to spend your time sensing what people want. Going back to that whole market theory thing, that we should sense and react. Until you have built an audience, and an audience to me is an email list, it's following on social, it's all of those things together, but it's like when you have a community of people and you can talk to them and you're not seeding ideas to them, you're simply listening to what they're saying. That's when you're ready to do it. And then you take the last step. Now, before I talk about that last step, I mentioned BADA Online Marketing University a second ago, where my email marketing program is now for free. I created this as a passion project, but it's not a product, and that's why it's different. It is absolutely free. I created this entire training program, and it's getting better and better and better with the vision to make it possible for online entrepreneurs like you to learn the marketing stuff for free without having to invest $10,000 or more on this course and that course and that course and every other course around the world, which is what most people are doing, because I don't think you ought to have to take out a second mortgage or sell your firstborn child to be able to figure out this entrepreneurship stuff. So I created that as a passion project and started putting everything into it for free. The distinction is people wanted to know how I marketed, so they wanted to know those things. I also saw a gap in the market because a lot of people clearly want to learn how to do this stuff, and it's free. I'm not trying to sell it, which makes it a much easier proposition. Now, if you want to join, you can head over to bobbyklink.com/BOMU. That's BOMU. There's also a link here in the notes, but you can do that and learn. But now I want to talk about the last piece. Once you've listened to people and they've told you what to create, what's the last step? The last step here is not to create it and then sell it. Even after the market has told you what they want, and there were some kernels of wisdom in this when I talked about what I created in my business. Sell it, then make it. Because as much as people will tell you they want something, until someone gives you their credit card, you can't believe them. Now, it's not that they're lying, but it's like, well, yeah, I want that. But the rubber meets the road when they have to pay for it. And so you need to understand, are people willing to pay for this? That's what I did with my membership, the Fans First Society, which I've since closed. And then when I was selling my email program rather than giving it away for free, that's what I did. I started by simply, asking people and I did it in conjunction with my membership, but I used that and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm going to do this. Do you want it? And I had a bunch of people say, yes, I'm in. And so as a result, I said, cool, they bought. And then I created it and released it as we did it. See, that's the process of listening to the market, hearing what they want, but then confirming what they want by selling it to them and then creating it. Now, if you'll follow this process, you won't end up going into communities of entrepreneurs and saying, I've got this great product, but no one's buying. I put all this time in and I can't get anyone to buy. We've all seen it and we don't want to be there. So instead of creating a product and then trying to sell it, no, listen to your audience, react, sell it, and then make it. Now, that's it for today's episode. Your next step, a couple things. One, if you want to learn how to market the right way, how to build a business over the long term, go join BOMU. Again, bobbyklink.com/BOMU, absolutely free. But also listen to or go watch my other video And specifically, it's about how to build an online business the right way. And it talks about the fundamental concepts of marketing and how do we take these fundamental principles of marketing and apply them in the online world. So go check out that video, and I'll talk to you later.